All right. Welcome back to the next episode of Herbie Sports Talk. Thank you for joining in. My name is Tyler, Big Herbie Herbach, and as always, across the table is Travis, Little Herbie Herbach. All right, guys. Interesting episode today. We're gonna cover a lot of topics.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. We're gonna recap the All-Star game.
Yep.
We gave you our predictions last week. And I lost a bet, so we'll have to cover that again.
Oh, I forgot about that. Where's my money? I forgot about that.
I literally don't have it on me.
I forgot about that.
We're going to jump into the UFC.
Yep.
Big fight this last weekend. And then we got a little bit of NFL topics and some college basketball topics. So
yeah,
we're pretty diverse today. So before we get into those, as always, please leave your comments, anything you want to tell us on our social media feeds.
Yeah. Twitter,
Instagram. We're on TikTok. Even though I feel like we're not plugging that very much.
No, yeah.
Mostly Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, TikTok's definitely the least used right now.
Yeah.
And
then
either way.
You always leave a comment on the YouTube video too.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into the NBA All-Star game.
Yeah.
As predicted, Team LeBron dominated.
Yeah, 170 to 150, won by 20.
And honestly, it was closer at the end than the game really showed.
That's what I say, yeah. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, it's an All-Star game, and people don't care to be that hard playing.
Right.
It's like, they could have won by 50 if they wanted to, but no one was going to try that hard to get there.
It's pretty crazy to watch an All-Star game where a team will go on, like, multiple 15-0 runs.
Yeah.
I mean, the Eastern team, Durant drafted a team that was supposed to get buckets, and they didn't get very many buckets.
They didn't get any buckets.
Bradley
Beal's the only shining spot that KD's team had, really.
Yeah, and even then he was quiet for most of the game. And he started to finally, light up towards the end. Kyrie put in his moments.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, okay, so Giannis won the MVP. So let's bring up Giannis first.
Yeah.
He went 16 for 16. Now most of those are dunks, but he did go 3 for 3 from deep, which he never does.
Yeah.
And if you watch the game, the funniest part, that he was 15 for 15, and you could see he's about to go up to pull up on a pull-up three, not even a catch and shoot, a pull-up three, which is not his game. And you can hear Reggie Miller on the broadcast be like, no! Like, don't do it! He's like screaming, no!
Too much.
And Giannis banks it in.
Of course he does.
It was one of the funniest things, and then Giannis didn't put up another shot because he was 16 for 16.
He said, I'm not touching the ball.
Which, I mean, you don't do that in your driveway. 16 for 16, let it alone in any game. Yeah, I know it's an all-time, but it's still 16 for 16 is crazy.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I know. I saw that too, and I was like, let me go see what his career shooting averages are and see because the dunks all make sense, but the 3 for 3, I'm like, that's just ridiculous. That's absurd for Giannis. He'll never be a shooter in his career.
No,
like that's just something he can get better at it, but he'll never transition that way. Like we see some players. His career field goal percentage is 53%.
Okay, that's good. But
that's great because it's mostly paint points, right?
Yeah.
You're talking that's up there in the top echelons of numbers. His 3-point is like 24.
Yeah, it's bad.
Which, I mean, again, makes total sense. But the fact that he goes 16 for 16, I mean, I think that's stupid. We said that, any of these guys can win the MVP. It doesn't matter what all-star team, who it is, back and forth. Any of them can win. It just depends on who shows up and goes lights out.
Right.
And all it took was for Giannis to go 16 for 16. We were saying, it takes one guy a triple-double, one guy to go 30 and 15. The Joker could have gone 30 and 15 boards.
Right.
All it took is one good, decent performance, and here you go. There's your MVP.
Yeah, for sure.
16 for 16, I guess, gets the job done.
Yeah, I mean, when you go perfect from the field, it's not like he went 4 for 4. He went 16 for 16.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, it's clearly deserving. But let's get to the real stars of the night, which were by far Steph and Dame.
Yeah.
They put on an absolute show.
They were cooking all night. They were cooking.
It was so much fun to watch. Watching them just pull it from half court and both drain shots with ease. I love how, in the first half, Steph did it first, and Dame's like, nah, hold on, I got it. And the very next possession does the same thing.
Did you see the picture of Dame's game winner of Steph in the backcourt?
Yeah, the video?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, the video was brilliant.
Was that?
And honestly, the funny thing is Steph started waving goodbye before Dame even got close to half court.
Yeah.
Dame started dribbling the ball,
He knew he was gonna pull up.
Steph is walking off the court. He knows it's going in.
Literally the whole time, just all right, bye. I mean, he knew he was gonna pull it up.
Oh yeah, it was one of the coolest videos we've seen in the NBA this season.
Oh, definitely.
By far.
Definitely. A couple takeaways real quick. So, Steph Curry and LeBron, they played great together. LeBron instantly after the game was all over social media, just praising him, super thankful he got the opportunity to play with him, and just like, he's played against him so many times. You're talking, he played all those finals games against him back-to-back years. If you're talking
4 in a row.
Yeah.
4 finals in a row.
You're talking 30, was it 28-ish games on average? Or 28 at the maximum. So you're talking minimum 20 games.
Yeah.
That they played against each other.
I think they played about 25 games because they didn't all go 7.
Right, but I mean 25 games at the biggest stage 4 straight years. I mean, you learn a lot about the player.
Oh, yeah.
So the respect is immense between the two guys. But to play with them, I think LeBron gave him a new life for how crazy good Steph Curry really is. Playing against is one thing because you're not focused on his talent. You're focused on your team and your team's talent. But you're just here tossing the ball, and he's putting up 35-footers and just splash and just running down. I mean, it's a whole different type of awe. So it was really cool to see them two kind of like, you're talking one of your two biggest faces of the entire league, and have been. I mean, Steph Curry literally changed the game, how the game is played, and forever. And everybody agrees with that. And then you have LeBron, who's the biggest face in the league since Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan's the only other biggest face in the history of the league, basically. There's other good names, but in terms of faces of the league, MJ, then LeBron.
Yeah.
In reality, 1 and 2. So to see those two guys go together and play so great and have such a good energy, really cool to see. It's something you don't ever see often.
Oh yeah, I mean, you could see it even though they played just a few minutes together. Because I think LeBron only played like 12 minutes in this game.
This is
he sat out the entire second half. But just to see them both on the court, and you could tell there's already a mind meld. There's both very intellectual players.
Yeah.
They both are very smart, know the game extremely well, and you can just see them imagining them on the same team would be crazy because Steph can hit.
Dangerous.
Steph is crazy, and LeBron would pass him into more open shots than he's ever seen in his career.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the Warriors do an amazing job of scheming to get Steph wide open shots, because he moves so well without the ball to get these open shots. But I mean, if you have LeBron dishing those passes out, it's another level.
Yeah. Oh, it's a whole nother level. He is the best passer we've seen in the game, as a big man. I won't say ever. I mean, you got to think of this.
Right.
Steve Nash's, Chris Paul's, John Stockton. Those are not comparable when they're point guards. But in terms of any guy who's a 2-guard or 3-guard and above, he's the best ever.
Yeah, I mean, he was the closest to someone his size that passes that well. The only guy you can really speak to is Magic Johnson.
But Magic was still a point guard.
Yeah, but Magic was the biggest point guard up to that point.
Yeah,
he's like 6'7",
6'9", actually.
Really? I didn't think he was that tall.
Pretty positive.
Okay, maybe he was 6'7", which is the same size of LeBron, so it's pretty impressive. But yeah, Giannis is deserving MVP. I would have had no qualms if it went to Dame or Steph, who both went over 30. Dame actually led the game in scoring with I think 34.
30.
No, 30. He had more than
Giannis had 35.
Yeah, and so Dame had more. I think maybe it was 38. Or did he go? Did he go for 40?
I'm not positive on that.
Not sure either. Now that I think about it, I thought I had it right here, but I guess not. But yeah, either way.
Yeah.
Fun game though. I mean,
super fun game.
It was entertaining until it started becoming a blowout, but
Which is what we expected, but it was still more competitive.
Towards the end,
which is what we called for and what we expected from anyways.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you could see it get, I wouldn't say chippy towards the end, but certainly they weren't teams weren't allowing easy buckets at the rim.
Yeah. Okay, we've had our fun, our windmill dunks and our alley-oops and crap. Let's do something. Yeah. So, the only other takeaway I had, because that's more my LeBron side since they were teamed, I did a takeaway for KD's side, which I've mentioned already, Bradley Beal. For me, it was more of what he talked about in the interview post-game. He said it was so much fun. I had such a good time being out with these guys at this high of a level. I mean, even though he's a great player, I mean, in terms of all-star selections, he's not a guy that's Steph 9 times, LeBron 15 times. He's talking 4 or 5 times. And a lot of the times he doesn't get to play with the top echelon of guys like he did this time around. So he was really thankful and happy with that experience, and he was super happy that he was able to start too that said he meant a lot to him. I know episodes and episodes ago we talked NBA free agency, and I brought up Bradley Beal a ton of times because all the John Wall crap happened. Now he's got Russell Westbrook instead. And I say the whole time, Bradley Beal, if he wants to do anything in his career except for be a guy that scores 40 and loses every time, which is he's got a record for, by the way, for like 12 straight times. If he wants to be a guy that's not known for just being able to score and not his team not be able to win, he needs to get the hell out of Washington. And him being
he has a weird loyalty to them for some reason.
I don't get
Even
it.
though they've done nothing by him.
They've done nothing for him besides pay him, which, I mean...
Anybody would have paid him, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's a talented player to not get paid regardless. But, like, you're out there, you're playing with all these guys, these new guys you haven't played with before, the top echelon guys. He might have... I'm hoping, that's my hope for watching him as a player, that he saw a team that he wants, like, oh, I need to go join that guy and that team. This is how this is supposed to feel. This is winning basketball, good playing basketball.
Right. How much fun is it to play with, like, real talent?
Exactly. So I'm hoping that helps open his eyes even more. Like, okay, I really need to leave this place if I want to actually be a winner in the NBA game. Yeah,
this was his third All-Star game. He actually led Team Durant with 26 points, which isn't a lot.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting, and maybe you're right. Maybe it kind of opens his eyes and realizes that he deserves better than what Washington's giving him.
Yeah, at least I hope it opened his eyes to it.
Hopefully,
that's why I hope so. But that's my two main takeaways from the game itself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and and he was definitely his comments after were pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's very nice content like coming from guy who has been overshadowed, I think, for a lot of his career, only because he plays for such a crappy team.
Yeah. Well, even when the Wizards were semi-decent, they were pushing for the 8th seed for a couple years there when he first entered the league, when John Wall was still playing.
Was when he was playing before the injuries and stuff.
Yeah, he was still playing high. Even then, he was overshadowed by John Wall, even though John Wall wasn't really the leader of the team when it came to keeping them in games. Bradley Beal has always been the better scorer and the higher skilled individual.
Well, yeah, because John Wall can't shoot.
Yeah. But even then, John Wall's aura of his name overshadowed him even when they had a decently semi-subpar, 50% winning average type of seasons.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, gets a fun game. I hope it gets better next year. We'll see how it goes,
Yeah.
One last little fun fact. This is the 4th year they've done this format. LeBron's been a captain all 4 years, and he's 4-0.
Does that surprise anybody?
No, yeah. LeBron, I feel like LeBron could walk off the court, walk directly into a GM job, and become the best GM in the league.
Oh, yeah.
I could see that.
But the thing is that he's just not going to be a GM. He doesn't want to take over a team. He wants to have his own team.
Right, he wants to be an owner.
He will be an owner.
Right.
Before he becomes a GM. But yeah, I don't see that. I see it definitely happening in his later careers.
For sure. He also, with how many things he could get into after his career, because he has many production companies. A little bit of acting skills, like he might not be. It might be much later after before he becomes an NBA owner that wants to be more hands on.
I agreed. So let's go to the not so dunk contest. I guess I'll call it.
Yeah, a little bit of a letdown overall.
Yeah.
It wasn't as creative. It was kind of cool. So Anthony Simons won, who was our second choice after Cash Stanley.
Yeah.
He won on a cool dunk. It could have been better, where he came up and it looked like he was gonna kiss the rim. You understand why he can't though? The way when you're going up with such force, if he actually kissed the rim, he's losing teeth. So.
Yeah. See, my problem with it, it's a problem. I'm really being nitpicky here because again, it's like 3 guys that no one's heard of. 2 of them are rookies, or all 3 of them might be rookies if I'm not mistaken.
Simons was not. He's like a third-year player actually.
Okay, so 2 of them are rookies. So you're not really expecting much from it in the first place. But I got the final ESPN update. Oh, he almost kissed the rim to win the slam dunk on his last dunk of the night. Yeah. And I go watch the video and he's like 6 feet from the rim. He's He's actually not that close.
Okay, he's like 6 inches, but
no.
6 feet. Who is he? Michael Jordan in Space Jam, just reaching all the way.
Okay, I exaggerate, but it wasn't that close as I would hoped it would be to make it actually that much cooler and entertaining.
My biggest nitpick of the night, so Cassius Stanley had the very first dunk of the night and got absolutely screwed. They gave him like a 38. They all gave him like 8s, and it was a vicious dunk. It was one of those things. I think it was just like they didn't want to rate too high because it was the first dunk. They want to see where it goes from there.
Right.
So I feel like it hurt him, and it made it so he couldn't even get to the final round. He got eliminated first, even though I think his first round dunk was actually better than both the other two guys.
Yeah. It also could be because, I mean, all the judges are past NBA players or Hall of Famers, coaches, guys like that. So usually and it's been that way for a long time, and they're always past NBA guys. But usually when you have the stars in the game, you know what to expect. So it's easy to hand out that low score or the high score because you've seen them. They've either been in the dunk contest before or they've seen it in games. These guys, they had no idea what to expect from them. So you can't go on the first dunk and throw out a 10 and think it's good, and somebody behind him blows him out of the water, but you still get a 10 too.
Right.
So it's like you got to start low and try to figure out what the playing field level is.
Yeah, but that's a detriment to the first guy. The first guy throws down like crazy dunk as catches did. I mean, it was a through the legs windmill like tomahawk. But he made it look effortless though. That was the biggest thing. I think maybe that's what hurt because like he went up and he threw it down. He didn't throw it down that hard, but like the skill involved and how high he got was crazy. But he made it look probably too easy. Maybe that's why he got downgraded. But I think it was more just because it was the first dunk of the night and they didn't want to score it too high.
It was a detriment to him. It's also a detriment that none of the guys really know what to expect from him too.
Right.
That's not on
it certainly wasn't a star-studded event, which we've kind of fallen away from a lot of the star stuff. Like even like, but this was especially bad. Like even in the last couple years, like Zach LaVine won, but he wasn't a huge. Like people knew him, but he wasn't like a big name. Right. It's not like Blake Griffin and Dwight Howard, when they were stars in the league already.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like, back in the 80s when you had Michael Jordan versus, Dominique.
True.
Like, those are the things we're missing. It's like the bigger stars don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But part of it's because I think all the bigger stars are going to the three-point contest because that's where the league's going.
That too. Plus, I think it's more like the 3-point. The league's going that way. And I think it's becoming more fun. It's more of a competition versus just like, let me see if I can make the dunk. If I can't make the dunk, then I lose. With the 3-point, you have like hands-on competition right next to you.
Yeah, I mean
that would be more enticing.
Right. It was kind of the other way around. Like back in the day, I remember like you had like one like you put like Ray Allen there, and I was like, okay, Ray Allen's gonna win. Yeah. And so no one else joined.
I guess that's true. That's true.
I think Steve Nash won it once or twice maybe.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how the leagues changed it. And like I would like though to get like Zion. If Zion's not in it in the next year or two, I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah.
Because I think once we get too deep in it, it's be just like LeBron. Like people are waiting. Once he gets too deep in the career, it just won't happen.
Yeah. It won't be a goal in mind once he starts getting to the playoff, winning consistently and develops the game more. I know we're transferred to the 3-point. Real quick, just a side note, Simmons was the first trailblazer actually to ever win the dunk contest, by the way.
Simons, not
Simmons, sorry. Yeah. Simons. The first trailblazer ever.
So, which is kind of surprising, but you like think back in their history, there's only a couple guys that were like known dunkers, like Clyde Drexler was.
Yeah.
Brandon Roy, they could get up. But Brandon Roy had his career cut super short because of injury.
And Clyde Drexler was competing against MJ and Dominic Wilkins and all those guys.
That's true.
In that era, so it makes sense why he never kind of got to it. But yeah, quick point. But yeah, back to the 3. Where's my $20?
It's gonna be in the bank.
It's gonna be in the bank.
I'll get you on Sunday. We're doing another episode on Sunday. I'll pay up then, all right? You heard it here first. It'll happen. I'm a man of my word. But the 3-point contest was actually pretty exciting. Steph Curry won. That's why I lost, because I picked Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine actually lost in the first round.
Yeah, you picked the worst 3-point shooter out of all the guys.
He was just so streaky. Yeah. So like I know when he's hot, he's hot. But but he was also the last guy. He was like the worst guy out there. I think Jaylen Brown was the worst.
Yeah.
But it was exciting, and then out of nowhere, Steph is going up against. We're expecting it to be one of like the top guys, and it's not. It's little old Mike Conley from Utah, who was a shove-in at the last second into the
he was a shove. He was a shove-in, last second replacement. But people forget that he's got a clean left-handed stroke on him.
He does, and he's actually shooting his highest percentage ever in his career. I think like 44% or something like that this year.
Yeah, even back in the Grizzly days, the Memphis Grizzly days, when you had
Marcus All.
And Zach Rudolph. You had the two mean mugs down at the bottom.
Man, I forgot. That was a mean defensive
team.
It
was a mean back then. But he had a clean shot. Always did. The issue was that they didn't have any scoring around him, so his shooting percentage was always garbage because he had to try to carry.
Right.
So now he can actually just get his pull-up jumper shots in. He's got a good shot.
Yeah, he does. So I mean, it was kind of cool to see him like take advantage of his first All-Star game, and then also because he didn't do much in the All-Star game itself, but he showed out in 3-point contest to the point where Steph needed the last shot to win.
Yeah, I literally won on the last-minute money ball. They gave him the 2 points.
Yeah, and even then he might not have. I mean, Steph started off over 4 on the first rack. He hit the money ball rack, and then everyone's like, "Oh, I don't know." Then he like only hit like 2 or 3 in the second rack, but then he hit both the Mountain Dew balls, which are 3-point balls.
I think he only hit one.
No, Matt Conley only hit one, but Steph hit both of his in the final round.
Oh, okay.
And that was huge. I mean, hitting those like
that makes up for your 4 missed baskets right there.
And then he's going in the final rack. He misses one, and it's like, oh shit, he has to hit the final shot.
The money ball.
But because as most guys are, they're fast going through the rack. So on that last shot, he had like 8 seconds left. So he like took his time.
Yep. Okay.
Splash.
And we're fine. We got it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was great.
It was good. It was actually only his second time winning too, which is kind of.
He hasn't been in it that many times. So people think he's in it every year. He's not.
No, but I think this is probably 4th appearance if I had to remember.
Let me jump in.
3rd or 4th.
He's the 7th player to ever win it twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually thought that number would have been higher. In reality.
You would think I feel like a lot of guys like they like to do it once and they win and they don't really care to do it again.
Right.
Because some guys say that like there's fatigue in it because it's so which kind of doesn't make a ton of sense. It's like these are 3-point shooters. They don't put up 100 3-point shots a day in the gym.
Yeah, honestly, that's crap. They're putting up hundreds of shots every single day.
It's like they like say that like same thing with the MLB home run derby.
Uh-huh.
That like a lot of guys that win, it takes so much energy and it almost like it ruins their swing because they're just trying to hit it out of the park. So then like they have worse second half numbers in the season because they feel like it messed up their swing. So whenever it has something to do with that notion, I don't know. That's what they said. So I feel like people just don't like to be in there all the time, like they, like we think we should see.
Right.
Yeah. I was just trying to see how many times.
What's the pause? I mean, that was a weird.
Sorry.
That pause came out of nowhere.
Sorry, I know. I thought you were gonna pick up where I left off.
Well, I knew you were over here finding something.
I was trying to find how many times Steph has been in there, but
okay.
I'm not gonna.
Well, let's hit the last event of the skills challenge, which is super ironic because we said the whole last episode that like big guys don't win it, big men don't win it. We did not choose anybody.
We were so wrong. The last 4 winners have been big men.
Well, yeah, last year was Bam Adebayo from Miami.
And then Kat won 1 year, and then someone else won the year before. It's like 4 years in a row. It's all been big men.
Yeah. Or 4 out of the last 5. I know the last 2 have
clearly haven't been paying enough attention.
Yeah.
Because if I knew that, I'd be like Sabonis all the way. Because that was the guy I wanted to pick, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
I also didn't know that Sabonis was a runner-up last year in the event. Yeah. And he only failed because he missed the 3, which this year he hit the 3, so he won.
Well, he missed the 3. He missed the 3 at first. They actually him and Vucevic.
They both missed like 3.
Yeah.
He just hit it first.
And the funny thing, you were watching it, you can see their shooting forms were so much different because Vucevic has a lot of arc on a shot, whereas Sabonis is much more line drive. And so you can see they were both putting up shots about the same time, but Sabonis is going like this, and then Vucevic is like, and that's the only reason why Sabonis won, is because his ball just got to the rim first.
Yeah, actually cut Vucevic's ball off and dropped in. It was crazy. So yeah, I thought that was super ironic. They were like, "There's no chance he wins it. I'm not going to pick him." No. I even said, I was like, he doesn't have like the physical, like athleticism to do it. I think. But when in reality, it's not that athletic of an event.
No, that's why it's called a skills competition. It's about skill. I mean, because it's just like dribbling through some, cones, but it's really just like the NBA logo. That's making a chest pass. Going to the other side, you do a layup or a dunk. He dunked it every time. Right. And then coming back and hitting a 3-point shot. So, yeah, there's not like any like real athleticism needed to do this. I mean, you and I could do it. It might take us a while, but we could do it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I thought it was super ironic. I was like, well, I kind of feel like a dumbass.
Yeah, I did too. I felt bad for not backing my Gonzaga boy.
Yeah, that's true. He was a hometown dude for a minute there.
Yeah, he was my guy, and I let him down. So I didn't back him.
Didn't back him.
Never again.
Never again, Sabonis.
I got you from this day forward. I got you.
Tyler's gonna come back on Sunday with a tattoo on his arm that says Sabonis.
It's a bonus for life. Even though Sabonis didn't do jack in the All-Star game itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we expect, though.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play much. It was funny. You could tell he was very out of place because, like, his first minute in, the first thing he does is try to back down another player. And, like, do a little, like, jump hook shot. And it's like, that's not the All-Star game.
No. Well, it's because he's not a three-point shooter. He's not a flashy type of player.
Yeah, he's just a little bit, but he's old school.
He's an old school, exactly. He's an old school fundamentals type of guy.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's hard for him to but I'm sure he had a good time. But let's move over to the second topic we mentioned earlier that we're going to hit.
Yeah, UFC 259.
259 happened last weekend. We were a little late to the punch, but I mean, again, we guys do these episodes on weekends. You should know this if you listen and watch to us.
Yeah.
So you should know. So let's hop to the most controversial thing, obviously. If you're a UFC fan, I know it. You know, the legal knee by Petr Yan that disqualified him and lost him the bantamweight belt to Aljamain Sterling. We watched the fight this weekend. We had some people over, and we kind of, I mean, the entire group had almost like a disagreement then about not about the legal knee itself.
Oh, yeah.
The knee was beyond illegal, and there's no argument. If you argue that, I'm gonna knee you in the face. Like
that.
I don't know what else
you get down on your knees and take a knee to the side of your head and see how you feel about it.
Exactly. So it's very obvious the knee was 100% illegal.
Yes.
What I have an issue with is the fact that Sterling gets the belt. Mm-hmm. Not the fact that Jan loses it. He should lose it. It's a disqualification. That belt should be gone. But Aljamain Sterling did nothing to deserve to get that belt as well. And that really peeves me off.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And we were on that side, and we had other people on the other side in the room of like, no, he deserves it because he put up with that. But the thing is, like, that happened, I think it was the fourth round that happened.
Yeah.
And Sterling had lost every round leading up to that.
So
Jan was dominating.
Yeah, so the judges' scorecard that they showed after the fight ended, 2 judges had Jan up 2 rounds to 1, and 1 judge had Sterling 2-1.
That judge needs to get checked into rehab.
But if you're watching,
he's high.
Agreed.
He's definitely high.
If anything, you give Sterling round 1, which would have been the only debatable one.
Sure.
But it was very clear if you watched the fight, Jan was full momentum in the 4th round. Sterling was fading, fatiguing. Jan was tossing him around, hitting every shot. Wasn't having to work hard to get his opening looks either. Was taking full control. So you know Jan was going to go into that 5th round at 3 rounds to 1.
Mm.
You know it was going to be over. So you say that Sterling, he took that illegal knee. Okay, yeah, I feel bad
doesn't
for
make you a champion.
Exactly. And you didn't earn to be the champion either.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I think in a situation like that, especially for a title fight, you strip the belt from the current belt holder because he clearly deserves to lose it. Like, what you did was illegal. Doesn't mean the other person deserves to win.
Yeah.
It's not like... And people will try to compare it to, like, sports. The issue is that this is a one-on-one sport. This is a team sport. It's not a team sport. Like, when there's cheating in, like, the NFL, that very rarely determines the outcome of the game, right?
Right.
I mean, for instance, because everyone loves to bring up Deflategate with the Patriots, people, they're like, oh, well, they only won because Brady deflated the balls. That's not true. If you actually read into it, every game, not just this game, every single game, at halftime, the balls are rechecked and re-pumped up by the refs personally, and they get directly taken back on the field by the referees. After halftime, after the balls are re-pumped by the referees, the Patriots went on a 28-0 run to win the game.
Yeah.
So, that's the difference. The deflated balls meant jack shit to the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
In this specific fight, 1v1, when Jan puts a knee to their guy's head, and Sterling was like, couldn't get up for, probably close to 10 minutes. He was on that for probably 10 minutes before they actually stood him up. And even when they stood him up, he could barely stand straight.
Yeah, he was getting carried the whole way out.
It was not pretty. Clearly it made a major effect on him.
Yeah.
There was no way he was ever going to be able to fight again. The one, like, if I want to get nitpicky about it, the one thing that kind of made me mad is they took so long to call the fight.
Yeah, and that's actually, most people say that. DC, Daniel Cormier, who casted the fight, him and Joe Rogan as well. Everybody knows who Joe Rogan is mostly.
Yeah.
After they said the same thing. It should not be up to the fighter. The fighter is literally there getting his shit beat out of his head, damaging his brain. Like, and you're talking not even the mental damage, but like the fatigue that your body does the amount of energy you waste also affects your decision making in general. No matter if I'm just doing a workout my personal self or you're fighting a 5-round fight, UFC fight. So the fact that like a fighter in a state of mind that's not coherent, is not in a good state of mind in any sort of way, gets to make a decision to go out there and continue putting more damage on himself.
Yeah, I mean, and as a fighter, but talk to any fighter and talk to any athlete really. Through injury, the athlete's always gonna say, "No, I keep going. I can do it. I can fight through this. I can do that and that." And like the fighter, because that's just the nature of a fighter or an athlete. Like it's to push through, right? And the only times that you don't see is when people like snap their legs in half because they know you just can't do that. But if it's just like a thing that getting rocked or like a sprained ankle, things of that nature, you think you can fight through it. And so it's on the team and the specific UFC doctor who's there and is specifically talking to him on the mat should have been immediately like, yeah, no.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, yeah, it's the ref, again, like, it's not a dig against the ref, it's just a dig against the rule. The fact that, like, the ref could give Sterling 5-10 minutes, whatever it was.
To try to recover.
To try to figure out what he wanted to do. I mean, he was rolling in circles. His eyes were in the back of his head every time you saw his eyes even open up. Half the time they were closed.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that you're going to ask him a question, he's going to respond to you? He can't even see straight. He even said it. You heard it on live TV. Tell the doctor, I'm still seeing two different images right now.
Yeah.
Like, his bell was wrong. He was concussed by all means of the word concussion. Like,
yeah.
So, like, that rule needs to be changed. That, like, it should, nothing on the fighter should be between the ref and the UFC doctor on site.
100% agree. There was one point, like, he'd been laying on the mat for probably 2 or 3 minutes, and he's been on his back the whole time. He tried to just lean up and fell back down.
Yeah.
Like.
He looked like he was drunk. He leaned up and was like, timber.
Yeah.
Just gone.
Like, if somebody can't even lean forward, how do you expect him to even get to his feet and throw a punch?
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. Let's move forward into the rest of these fights. Jan Blachowicz, I swear.
Jan? It's Jan.
Jan. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm
Jan
American.
Blachowicz. Boom.
Mic drop. I mean, to put it completely bluntly, wipe the floor with Israel Adesanya.
Kind of. His striking. Actually, look at these numbers too. Because I said during the fight, I was like, his striking was so much significantly better than what I expected, and by all means in all areas. But he actually outstruck and outlanded Israel Adesanya on every category. Total strikes, he had 184. Israel Adesanya had 99. And striking, and in terms of efficiency, he hit 67% of his strikes versus Israel's 54%. Significant strikes. Jan had 107. Izzy had 78. Jan also had the better efficiency from 55 comparatively to 48% as well. The other main thing, the takedowns you can throw in there. Izzy obviously isn't a grappling person by any means.
Yeah, no.
But Jan was still 3 for 5 for takedowns, 60% efficiency. You're talking, his entire fight was calculated and executed on perfectly.
Oh, yeah. Izzy said leading up to the fight that he came in at 205 pounds under the weight limit. Even though he said he thought he was going to be closer to like 195.
Yeah.
But he said that the weight wouldn't matter. It clearly was a difference maker in this. Because Jan just wore down. He broke Israel down.
Yeah.
He made it to where like Izzy just wasn't throwing. You could see as the fight went on, he wasn't throwing as much. They weren't as efficient. There was no combinations. It was like one punch that came back.
Right.
One punch and come back, and it just wasn't gonna. It was never gonna get done. And so it makes me wonder how Israel Adesanya believes he was gonna be able to also jump up to heavyweight and take on fights up there.
Well, I think the main reason that he talks to go to heavyweight is for John Jones alone. I don't think he cares about going and fighting like a Stipe Miocic or Francis Ngannou. Like, he has no intention.
Well, John Jones, yeah.
He's too smart about that. He's going up there just to go for John Jones, who actually is a great stylistic skills matchup between the two of them.
Oh, yeah.
So,
skills-wise, like that'd be a fun fight to watch.
That's a nasty fight to watch.
It could also be a really boring fight to watch because they could be so defensive that...
It could be. Who knows? So that's his sole reasoning for it. But, at the end of the day, Adesanya, his post-fight interview and whatnot, it's being quoted all over, dare to be great. I dared to be great, and, it doesn't always come out to you perfectly.
Right. It was his first loss.
It was his first UFC loss, yeah.
It's pretty.
Or mixed martial arts loss, excuse me.
Yeah, because he's fought outside of the UFC and
Yeah.
been undefeated. I mean, he's been a dominant fighter up until just this last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, and the funny thing is like, I don't think anybody is taking him down a notch in terms of how they see him as a champion. At least if they are, they're idiotic. Because he's going to go back to 185 at middleweight, and he's going to run the table again, like he did leading up to this championship.
Could be.
Like, if you look at the top 5 guys real quick, let me just...
Yeah.
Number 1 is Whitaker, who he took the belt from initially. Whitaker doesn't want to refight him right now because he wants to take some time away from UFC. So he's denying his title fight back anyways right now. Costa's number 2, he just whooped him, made it look real easy. Number 3 is Jared Cannonier, who Izzy acknowledged last year that he was like, I was looking forward to him coming up and like getting to see him. Whitaker beat him on Whitaker's return.
And so that's it.
And that was that. And now at 4 and 5, at 4 you have Darren Till, who's new to the 185. He's 1 for 2 in his first 3 fights at 185 because he came up from 170. And then you have at number 5 you have Martin Vettori, who's like a new, fresh and kind of up and comer in the division. So it's like more than likely Izzy's gonna go down and fight the winner of Darren Till and Martin Vettori because the other 3 Cannonier just lost. He's beat the other number 1 and number 2 guys, and neither of these guys are skill levels anywhere close to the level that Israel.
Darren Till clearly should go back to 170 anyways because he's not performing. If the guy's so new, no one even knows like how much he can really do.
Yeah, like,
and he's young. Like he's not gonna. Izzy will outclass both of them easily.
Yeah, and Jared Cannonier is probably his biggest threat in my opinion because he's a size-wise, he's a big dude. He's kind of like similar to Darren Till. He's got a big frame on him, but he's got power and he's got technical precision as well. So like I thought that, but Whitaker kind of wiped the floor with Cannonier too.
Yeah.
So if you don't take Izzy down a notch because he took a loss, it's more of a entirely praise to Jan Blachowicz on how he performed.
Yeah, for sure. The one last bit I wanted to mention on this, the main title fight there between Jan and Izzy. I feel like this is gonna kind of stop for a little bit. Well, not forever. It's gonna slow down the push for all these guys to be 2 division belt holders. Because we haven't actually seen one since I just lost his name.
DC?
No, little guy.
So DC was the latest one to do it. Cejudo was before.
Yes, okay, Cejudo.
Yeah, Henry Cejudo was before. DC was the last guy to...
Oh, was it? Okay, on his last fight, that's right.
Right.
And we've had a couple guys go for it since.
Yeah, we've had 4 total double champs in history. Izzy was, I think, the only person that went to be the 5th. I think he was the only...
I thought there was a couple guys in between that went for it too and missed.
Or we could have been mistaken, but either way.
Yeah. But I don't know. There's this feeling. Maybe it was a combination of like not getting done, but also kind of how poor he looked. That I feel like is going to makes other fighters think, have a second thought whether they want to try to go get a belt in a second weight class if they already have one at 1.
Yeah, it definitely might slow down the eagerness to do it. I think it might play more of a role to the guys, to who was in what weight class. Like, going from 185 to 205, 20-pound jump. That's a hard move to make.
Yeah.
But you look at like when Connor did it, he went from 145 to 155. A lot easier move to make when he is already walking around above 155 at all times. And Izzy, he walks around, not really cutting weight, maybe 200 when he's, on his raw off season. But he's a natural 185. He doesn't cut weight.
As a fighter, yeah.
He doesn't have to cut weight. So for him to put on 20 pounds and be a fighter, it's a big difference. So I think it might be what weight class you are and what you do as a body of frame. Are you consistently cutting weight to get to that division, or are you a natural that division fighter?
Right, and I think we've seen it with other people too. Like Cowboy did this, where he was fighting at, I think, 170 for a long time. Or maybe it's the other way around.
155
He's
first.
fighting at 155, and he changed his fight and fight at 170, and he's a much more natural 170. And so he just looked, he had more energy fighting at 170, where at 155 it was just too hard of a weight cut for him to do. Yeah. And so that makes a huge difference. Like, sure, people go from one weight class to another, depending, up or down, depending on what they feel like they could do best. But you can see it's not always the right decision.
Yeah, and there's effects either way. Like in Cowboy's sense, cutting too much weight depleted his energy and gave his chin out. And then in the same way in Izzy's defense, going up trying to gain 20 pounds changes your entire game. Yanni said it too, actually. He was a little slower than I thought he was. You know, after the first round, I kind of got adjusted to it and I figured it out because it was slower than everything I had watched on him. So that weight made a difference for sure.
Yeah, slow. Plus, I mean, when you go up weight, your endurance, like when you're, you know, he's a natural 185, as you said. Right. So moving up in weight is going to hurt your endurance because now you're carrying around that weight and your body's not used to doing that.
Yeah, Izzy actually said in that little moment that him and Jan had as they were doing scorecards in the middle of the ring, like directly after the fight, when they were talking, actually a really funny exchange, if you guys haven't watched it, really funny exchange between the two, when Herb Dean was laughing even. Izzy said, he goes, my leg's a little tired. My legs are tired. Everything besides my legs, I'm good, but my legs are tired. He just fought 5 rounds on 20 extra pounds that he's not used to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge difference.
It is.
That's a huge difference. So, but congrats to Jan. I think definitely raise his stock on his championship type of level, his caliber.
Yeah.
And he's got a good future ahead of him. I was looking at his division too and kind of what he could see next coming up. And I think he should be able to maintain a championship for some time.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah. So the last fight. And there's really nothing to talk about in terms of the fight itself. Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson is what I'm referencing here. Because obviously Amanda Nunes has wiped the floor with Anderson. So that's not really a question by any means. Or anything to state. My whole sole purpose of bringing this up is Amanda Nunes the GOAT? Not the GOAT of women's UFC, but the GOAT of UFC.
I don't know if you can put her as the GOAT of the UFC overall. She's definitely, like, by far best women's MMA fighter of all time.
Yeah.
That's easy. I don't think you can put her up as the GOAT of the UFC as a whole.
Okay. Why not?
I mean, I don't.
Because most people consider Jon Jones as the GOAT. Are you in agreement with the majority of UFC fans?
I don't know if I'm in complete agreement, just because Jon Jones I think could have been, but he ruined his career with all the suspensions and crap.
He ruined his personal image. His terms of his record and his accomplishments are still there.
Right, but like it still like makes it's tough to overlook that, like because it could have been better. He could have distanced himself from everybody really easily, but he just
didn't.
Yeah, because he is kind of an idiot in his personal life.
No argument against that for anybody really. So I put Nunes up. For me, I think she has it.
Really?
I put her there. I was in agreement with Jon Jones being that person for up until just after this fight. When I look at the numbers, Jon Jones, if I remember right, he had like 10 consecutive title fight defenses after he became champion. Obviously, was very dominant. He's just as dominant as Amanda has been in her defenses, right?
Right.
Amanda has 7 straight title defenses. She's had 12 straight victories, which is second longest in UFC. Usman is number 1 out of 13.
Okay.
Nunes is also first female double champ, one of the 4 only fighters in UFC history to be a double champ. Jon Jones never even made an attempt at that.
Yeah.
He's moving heavyweight, but it's not for a championship fight yet. So who knows if he even has an attempt to get to that level. And then, when I look at the division, who she's beat, there's not a single person on this roster in the UFC's bantamweight or UFC featherweight, I believe, the 135, 145 pound division, between the two of them, where she even has the slightest type of competition. Any name on this list from number 1 to number 6 right now, she's beat all of them except for one person. And that one person hasn't earned her shot at a title fight yet.
Is that Pena?
This Pena.
Yeah.
She's making a lot of noise, but she has not anywhere close earned that shot yet.
Yeah, and Raquel, right?
Raquel Pennington, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she called her out after Nunes' fight. It wasn't like, and everyone's like, it doesn't matter.
But it's like, when you look back, Nunes also wiped the floor with Pennington 3 years ago when she was still a single champ. Like, wiped the floor with her easily.
Yeah. The one interesting thing about this, just to kind of go in, so just their overall records, Nunes is 21-4, where Jon Jones was 26-1 with 1 no contest.
Right.
And the thing is, I guess the reason I can't put Nunes first yet is because kind of what you said, like her divisions and the women fighters in general she could face or she has faced, isn't on the same level as somebody would be in John Jones.
Okay.
And it's probably because
that's a good argument.
It's probably because the women UFC fighting is still in its infancy. It hasn't been around that long. So women in fighting in general is still kind of a newer concept, especially in the MMA, where we are not going to have those. We're not going to have those legendary fighters yet.
True. Yeah. You're saying like the level of competition John Jones faced is not the same level as Nunes has faced yet.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. That's probably the only argument that could take her down from the number one spot.
And that's not her fault.
Oh no, there's nothing she can do about that.
Yeah, she can't do anything about the fact that the rest of her competition is trash compared to her.
Yeah, I mean the only people that she was real competition is 3 fighters. Ronda Rousey, obviously, wiped the floor with her, knocked her out like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Holly Holm knocked her out as well.
Yeah.
And Chris Cyborg knocked her out as well.
Yeah.
And that was basically the 3 women's names you knew outside of Amanda Nunes.
Right, and you have Shevchenko, the down weight class.
Valentina Shevchenko, yeah. Beat her twice. And sent her out of their own division.
Yeah, that's why she went down. It's because Nunes wiped the floor with her.
Yeah.
So that's the issue, and because Nunes has been so dominant, there's talk about the UFC possibly altering the weight classes for the women's divisions to see if they can make it a little more competitive. Because
you're gonna add a weight class.
Maybe
she'll be the first triple champ then.
It could be. I mean, I feel like if she had the ability to drop down to the lower weight class and take the title down there, which I think she should get to like 125 or
125 is where Shevchenko's at.
Okay, yeah. So that probably wouldn't be the easy thing for her to do.
Right.
But if she could do it, yeah, she could go down there.
I'm sure she would if she cared about that, which I don't think she's that egotistical to do.
Right.
She doesn't act that way at least, but she could. So I know. For me, I put her number 1, and especially with her personal.
It's fair.
I don't think there's gonna be a ton of arguments against that for me.
Yeah, the funny thing is about it too. I will absolutely say I'm pretty sure Nunes could go over to the men's division and win fights.
Yeah,
I don't know if she could get to the championship, just because. I mean, it'd be really hard for a woman to go into the men's division, just compete at the absolute top level to compete for a championship.
Right.
It's just hard to do. You don't see it in any sport, just kind of in general. I'm not trying to dog that. It's just kind of nature in that aspect. Like we just haven't seen it before in any sport. So.
Yeah.
But she could definitely win fights.
Oh yeah, you put her at the 135 division and men's, and she wins a couple fights.
Oh, for sure, easily.
She really does.
I bet you she could. I bet you she could get to the top. I bet you she'd get to the top 5 in the rankings in the 135 division.
Top 5, yeah, guaranteed top 10. Guaranteed top 10.
Yeah, I'd push top 5. I just think maybe they even give her a title shot.
Fuck, that'd be crazy.
I mean,
holy crap.
Dana White's ballsy enough to do it.
Dana White's the man. Dana White is the man. Who knows? Who knows? That'd be some crazy shit that ever happened in UFC in history. Not even like to a Nunes, but just in history of time. If that ever happened, I'm gonna shit my bed.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. And you know what? But we don't. Nunes, maybe, who knows? Maybe she would go out and win the championship of the 135 in the men's division.
That would be insane.
If she did, it'd be history. Like not just history in the sense of history. That's history that should be talked about for centuries. Kind of history.
That's human being history. like you're talking the daughter that she just has, newborn. Yeah. You're talking that is a new type of human being that she just is raising now. It's a whole new breed of humans out here.
Yeah, it'd be pretty impressive. So, one last kind of tidbit on UFC 259. 100%, the undercard, the non-pay-per-view fights were more exciting than the main card.
Oh, definitely
were.
All 3 of the performance of the night bonuses and fight of the night all went to all the undercard. Not a single of the main card, including the 3 different title fights, got any of the bonuses.
Yeah, none of there's 5 fights on the main card, and they weren't very fun to watch. They were pretty one-sided in all cases, or there was just kind of guys walking around the ring with each other. It wasn't great. So
yeah.
I think that's our last point on the UFC 259, though.
Yeah, that's everything I got on it. I'm looking forward to the year, though. They got some big fights planned.
Yeah.
And scheduled way in advance right now. Well, which is normal for UFC to schedule ahead of time. But they got some some fatty fights coming up.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to keep rolling with some UFC content.
Yeah, so let's move over to the NFL, which is our bread and butter.
It is the bread and butter.
And so we're gonna give you kind of just a bit of a free agency primer. Free agency starts next week. Mm-hmm. We already have some intel. Some things happening, like franchise tag has already come through.
Yeah.
We had 10 teams issue franchise tags, so there's a few of the bigger free agent names, especially in the wide receiver group, that are no longer available in the free agency, and most notably Allen Robinson from Chicago.
Bears, right.
But yeah, there's still some big names still on the market. This year's free agency is very odd because the cap situation.
Right.
It's 8% lower than it was last year, and this is the first time the cap has gone down since 2011. It's been raising consistently every year since then. That's obviously directly because of COVID.
Yeah.
There's nothing they can really do about that. The salary cap is at 182.5 this year is where they officially set it, when it was expected to be close to $200 million.
It's a huge difference. $18 million is a star-studded man to pay right there. That's a huge difference between winning and that one $18 million contract can literally be the difference between you winning the Super Bowl and not winning the Super Bowl. That's really all it can take. All it can take.
It really is. It's gonna make it. The weird thing about this is that it means that there's guys that normally would get good paydays that aren't really good players, guys that would get top dollar in many cases, because I personally think this free agent class is kind of weak compared to what we've seen in years past, but normally these guys would kind of break the bank, and I don't see it happening this year just because cap spaces for most teams are pretty limited.
Yeah. And there's a lot of teams already in the negative, let alone getting lowered cap space.
There's a lot of teams in the negative, deep in the negative, and it's going to be interesting to see what maneuvering they do to get out of the hole, because unlike the NBA and Major League Baseball, it's a hard cap in the NFL. You are not allowed to go over.
No.
It's not allowed, period. Where in the other two, the MLB doesn't have a salary cap, so they just get to throw money around it's nothing.
Whatever they want, yeah.
But the NBA, you can go over it, you pay a fee for it, they call it their luxury tax. But most owners, they are worth billions and billions of dollars. They don't really care if they're trying to win championships.
Yeah, agreed. So let's look at some of these guys that are the notable free agents to hit the market next week.
Yep.
We've had a couple of bigger names that just got signed, the franchise tag got released and re-signed by different teams, stuff like that. So you run me through what you got first. I know you love the free agency market game.
That's my bun, it's my boo. The free agency is. I love free agency and the draft. So let me jump into who I think is the biggest free agent on the market. The guy that on the offensive side of the ball will make the biggest difference for the team he goes to. Let's talk with Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
All right, he's by far the number one running back on the market. It's not even close. It's him, and then there's Chris Carson, but they're two very different levels of player. Plus, Chris Carson has the injury history that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
Personally, I think the best fit for Aaron Jones and for team-wise, because I think it'll raise his team to the next level, is Aaron Jones going to Miami.
Ooh.
You add Aaron Jones to that offense, give Tua a strong running back to be able to hand the ball off, plus do the off the play action. Plus, I'm very certain that third overall pick, maybe they trade back, but they stick there. I think they're taking a receiver. I think it's going to be Jamar Chase from LSU, who I believe is number one receiver in the league, or in the draft. I'm sorry. And they don't. Maybe they take one of the best playmakers at the tight end position to pair with Gesicki, which would be Kyle Pitts from Florida, who is only listed as tight end. He's not really a tight end. This dude's just a straight playmaker.
Yeah.
But I think you add Aaron Jones into a mix like that, and Tua has no excuses not to make another step forward next year because he'll have nothing but weapons.
Yeah. You already have a solid tight end. You actually have a underappreciated receiving core as is down in Miami.
Oh yeah, you have Devontae Parker who's very good, and you have Preston Williams who's extremely talented. He just needs to be able to stay on the field.
Right. You do that. You give him. You have Maj Gaskin in the backfield currently, who has showed up last year.
for the first time. This is like his 4th year in the league.
Yeah.
And he barely played much, and all of a sudden he became almost their bell cow, which was very interesting.
Yeah, Jordan Howard disappointed like he has every year, basically.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, you keep Myles Gaskin, you can make him your scat back, turn him into your Darren Sproles type of player.
Sure. Yeah.
As your playmaker, and you throw in Aaron Jones as your horseback, throw in a good, receiver in the draft, or, or even another tight end, like you're saying.
Yeah. Or, I mean, even
good.
in the draft, the one other thing they could do, if they want to, because the one kind of weak spot on offense, if they don't pick a receiver right there, because receivers are always deep in the draft now. They could get one later, especially because they have 2 first-round picks. If you want to take Penei Sewell at the 3rd overall pick and shore up that offensive line and make it so Tua's not running around at all.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Well, I mean, you're talking offensive line, too. You got to think about one of the biggest name in terms of names on the free agent coming out. Trent Williams, offensive tackle from Niners, is a free agent. He's damn near the best tackle in the league right now. If not, he's top 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's by far one of the best tackles. One of the best just players in the league, honestly.
Yeah.
But he's a lineman, so people don't give him the credit that they deserve.
Naturally, yeah. They all deserve
the one
credit.
thing that's really interesting about tackles, especially great offensive tackles, he's 33. People might be thrown off by his age. Don't worry about it with tackles. The great offensive tackles, they all play to 38 and they play really well all the way to the end.
Yeah.
They don't drop. Andrew Whitworth for the Rams just retired.
He was 38.
He was 38, and he was one of the top guys in the league his entire career. You could go back to Joe Thomas did that. Orlando Pace, Walter Jones.
Yeah.
Ogden. Ogden from
Jonathan Ogden.
Jonathan Ogden from they all do that.
Yeah.
They're great because it's all about just like quick bursts. It's not like they're having to run, right? It's athleticism, but it's quick burst stuff and strength.
Yeah.
So they age well, as offensive linemen. And so Trent Williams could sign a 4 or 5 year deal, and I'd be happy to have him until he's 38.
Oh yeah, agreed, absolutely agreed. He's gonna be a stud, and whoever can actually figure out that, hey, let's not get every receiver and running back you see in the draft and free agency, and let's build a core first. The smart GMs and owners will look at him before they start looking at any of these other skill positions.
Yeah, John Snyder.
Yeah, shout out to that guy. Not a good shout out, by the way, dude. Take care of your damn quarterback.
Only right now. Actually, John Snyder's probably one of the best GMs in the league. But you make Russell happy.
Learn how to draft a lineman too. Damn it.
Yeah, they're bad at that.
They're bad at that. Moving on. Obviously, yeah. The other notable free agent I have, and he's going to be a sleeper for me. He's a sleeper. Leonard Floyd, defensive end from the LA Rams. That dude put on a show this year and got no recognition at all. I mean, being Seattle fans, as we're hometown guys, not from Seattle, but Seattle fans, right?
Other side of the state, that's all.
Yeah. When we watched the Seahawks play, he got multiple sacks on Russell every time they played. The 3 outings, multiple sacks each game.
Yeah, I think he
destroyed Russell all year long.
I believe in the 3 games they played, I think he had 8 sacks in the 3 games against the Seahawks.
He was, if I remember, he was in the 13, 14, 15 range sacks for the total of the year. Mm-hmm. That puts him in the top 10 in the league.
Yeah.
Maybe even top 5. So he is a sleeper. I'm going after him if you want him.
Could be.
If you're going defense, go find Leonard Floyd for easy money. Because he's easy money. He's low hanging fruit right now on the
there's a lot of pass rushers available this year.
And if you want to go defense, what about Shaquille Barrett? He's a free agent linebacker from the Bucs who we gave tons of credit to leading up to the Super Bowl.
He's staying. I almost guarantee he's staying in Tampa.
So he should, because they just re-signed Levante David too.
They did, and they just today they gave Tom Brady a contract extension and restructured it a bit, so where it freed up another $19 million cap space this year alone.
Just this year.
And they have a lot of guys they want to bring back. They already franchised Godwin, so he's back.
Great move.
They're probably going to let Leonard Fournette walk, just because they have Ronald Jones and they can bring in another running back on the cheap.
Yeah.
Maybe AB.
I think they signed AB.
Could be. I mean,
I think him and Tom had a good connection, and they'll take Tom's experience. Like, hey, sign him for like a 1-year deal. Let's see what we can do with him.
Tom likes Antonio Brown a lot.
Yeah.
They have a good connection. Know what's interesting about this though? There's a report out that Tom Brady has told Tampa Bay coaches and personnel people. He wants OBJ.
Oh God, please don't.
Why not be Tom Brady the one that like helps OBJ revitalize his career a little bit? Because he's had a couple down years, he had the injury stuff. Why not? I mean, they don't really need OBJ. They got plenty of weapons on offense, but could you imagine? I don't know who you throw the ball to, but those the top three receivers.
Yeah, that's also true. And you also have the other two guys on the lower side that he always like, oh yeah, I gotta remember get the ball to 17. I forget about that guy.
Yeah, I know.
I forget about him, but he's good too.
Let's just add another person into the mix that you'll never.
I don't know. I don't want to see OBJ really do anything. I'm really just getting sick of his drama ass.
Hater.
Like he's a great skill dude, but like ever since he broke his ankle and his leg in New York, not the same player. I mean, that's a detrimental injury to any player at that stage. But he got killed at such a high in his career. He was a mega star in the NFL of what he could do as a receiver. So that happens. He comes back not the same. He goes down to Cleveland. He gets with Baker and Jarvis Juice Landry, and you got the brotherhood. They're all happy. They're joyous, dancing around. Get hurt again, but he's not putting it. Even when he's on the field, he's not putting up any production numbers, and he's just causing the drama and the drama and the drama. So even if you go to Tom Brady, who's probably the only guy that can manage him in reality in the league, you're going to tell him you're going to put him in basically a fourth potential string position as a receiver. He's going to cry in the locker room every single day in practice after games. Like there's not a need for it.
Yeah. First of all, there wasn't really any drama with him in Cleveland. The drama that was created was media created because they're like, oh, is OBJ's probably upset because he's not getting the ball. Whereas, like, on the inside, it didn't seem like you saw that. And I think most of the issue in terms of production was just that him and Baker are still trying to figure out how to get on the same page.
Right.
It was their first year together. They'd only played, I think he got hurt, week 8? Something like that. Midseason, they didn't get to play a whole lot. Plus, with no offseason, no offseason training camp, all that stuff where you can't build a rapport.
I believe it's their second year together, actually.
Maybe. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm pretty sure it's the second year though.
Now you got me all flustered. I swear it's their first, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I think he'll probably end up staying. That's just Tom Brady's. Apparently, there's reports saying that Tom Brady wants OBJ. Maybe you would trade Chris Godwin for him or something because I don't know how you could possibly keep Mike Evans, OBJ, Chris Godwin, Gronk. AB.
Yeah. But you just franchise tag Chris Godwin, so either way, you're going to have to pay the money to ship him, though, too. You just guaranteed him his whatever $1 million contract.
Yeah, but with the franchise tag, I don't think you would get any dead money with it. I don't know for sure how the franchise tag works.
I think you still have to pay him, though. I think you're obligated to fill that contractual need.
Well, but the contract goes with him to the other team, and if you trade him before the season starts, that contract just goes with him. The new team pays that franchise.
Could be.
I could be wrong. I don't know for sure.
Either way, I don't.
All right, fine.
Let's let Tom Brady do what he's already doing in Tampa. I don't need more pieces to the mix here.
Tom Brady's ready for 8. So I think Barrett stays in Tampa, but we can go to another edge rusher here. The next there's a bunch of edge rushers. I mean, let me list just some of these other edge rushers that are available. Bud Dupree from Pittsburgh, coming off of a torn ACL, so he might not even be ready at the very beginning of the season. We'll see. You have Trey Hendrickson, who's very young, but just had his first break. This is his first year starting. He was a third rounder in 2017, and he had a breakout season his first year starting. And like I said, he's young. People are gonna like him. Carl Lawson, also young. He'll probably end up going back to Cincinnati, but he's really good. I mean, and then you have kind of an enigma. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney, who knows what's going on with him anymore? Because he's been. I mean, obviously, everyone knows, or we know, in Seattle, he had a really good season in Seattle. The sack numbers were there, but he had one of the best pressure rates in the NFL, top 5. But he was completely absent from the Tennessee Titans last year until they got hurt and missed the whole second half of the season. So it's very interesting. I mean, people are still going to pay him because he's still only 28. He's still young, even though he seems like he's been in the league for a while at this point. That way. But he has such upside. It's hard to. Someone will pay him.
Yeah, his potential is still there immensely. I don't know if I heard this name. Did you mention Carlos Dunlap at all?
I did not. I said Carl Lawson, who was his running mate in Cincinnati.
Yeah, so Carlos Dunlap got released for the Seahawks after they traded for him in the middle of the season.
That was expected though, because he had a $14 million cap hit.
Gotcha.
So they were expected to cut him because they just have to in terms of the cap. They've come out and said they want to try to re-sign him at a lower price, but obviously he's more than likely going to test the market first and see if he get bigger money elsewhere.
And I'm sure he would. I mean, he's been a great producer his entire career. He's not really had down seasons. And when he got traded to the Seahawks, he showed up and he made an impact on that defense.
Yeah.
Immensely. So I think he gets paid. I think that's another a good sleeper that you can go get.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, I mean he's a little older. He's like 32 or 33 at this point, but he's still productive.
Yeah.
Very productive. You can see that from his time in Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, he came in and immediately made a difference to their pass rush by himself. So, pretty say that way. Let's go back to the offense side of the ball here a little bit. Talk about some receivers. The receiver market obviously took a hit with Robinson getting the franchise tag. So did Godwin. So the number one receiver in the market is Kenny Golladay, out of Detroit, coming off of an injury. But I'm not, me personally on Golladay, I'm not completely sold on him as a number one receiver yet. I just haven't seen enough. That might also be because he's up in Detroit and it's hard to keep track of anything in Detroit.
True.
They're abysmal.
True.
SAT word for the day.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him either. And it's not even about him being a number one. I just don't think, I'm not sold on him being the number one receiver in free agency right now.
There's not really anybody else to go with.
Juju. He had a bad year again, but he's got major counterparts around him. And before Chase Claypool showed up, and I forget the other receiver's name.
They had Deontay Johnson.
Johnson popped off this year, and then Claypool and the rookie popped off. Before that, he had a great season after AB left as the number one guy. He put up good numbers.
Yeah, but he's had two subpar since, and that's
only one since. Claypool was a rookie. He came in this year. So last year, Juju had a great year.
I'm pretty sure he was down here last year too, but.
Well, last year was it would have been his first year without AB.
Yeah, I'll look up his.
Let's double fact check ourselves here.
Yeah, for sure.
But for me, I mean, we know what Juju can do. We've seen a good showcase of his skill level.
Yeah, no,
I think the biggest hit you're taking with Juju is his personality. If he can kind of keep his head focused on the game.
He is a TikTok star.
Yeah, get out of fucking TikTok.
No, so back-to-back down years. So in 2020, he had 97 catches for 830 yards. The year before, only 42 catches for 552 yards.
So I want to say back-to-back. You put almost 100 catches up. That's nowhere near a down season for receiver.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's down for what they expected him to be as a number one receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you would have hoped he got 1,000 yards, but I mean, 100 catches is still consistent. And we gotta remember, he's not a speed demon by any guys. He is a possession receiver.
Oh yeah, he's a guy who goes over the middle, catches the ball, takes a massive hit.
Yeah, big strong guy. For me, I'd rather take Juju, knowing his exact skill set, and build the speedy guy around him or whatever you want to do. Versus, I feel like you're taking a lot more of a risk with Kenny Golladay.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Golladay, he only played in a few games last year before he got hurt. The year before, though, he had 65 catches for 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. And then the year before that, he went 70 catches for 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So he had a couple of back-to-back years. I'm not completely sold on Kenny Golladay being a number one receiver, but I think if he signs on with a team that already has number one, he is by far the best number two receiver in the league.
Yeah.
So maybe not by far. You have Chris Godwin there with Mike Evans, but okay, solid.
He's a solid receiver, yeah. But I'm not. If I'm a team, I'm not going after him with number one receiver type of money or that type of interest.
Okay.
I'm looking at it pretty objectively. Who can I pair him with to create a good receiving core? Not what great receiver can I get.
Okay.
I don't think he's not that star-studded in my opinion.
And we could be wrong. I feel like that could just be because he was up in Detroit.
That could be too. Who knows? He gets a high-powered offense. He might just pop off and be one of the next top receivers in the league.
Yeah, could be. So, that's a little fantasy primer, NFL free agency primer. Yeah. We'll see where it goes again. Free agency starts next week, so it'll be kind of cool to see how this might play out. So let's move on to our last topic here, the NCAA basketball season. We're right in the middle of conference tournaments. Most of them finish up tomorrow on Saturday, and then there's a couple more left on Sunday right before the selection committee reveals the brackets.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the biggest storylines come out of this, besides bubble busters and things of that nature, is that we've had 3 teams in the last 2 days get removed from their conference tournaments because of COVID. First one being Duke, that was yesterday, which their season, unless they won the ACC tournament, they probably weren't making the tournament anyways.
Right.
So not the biggest deal. But the other 2, Kansas and Virginia, are both firmly in the tournament, period.
Yeah.
Kansas is probably a top 4 seed. Actually, I think both teams will probably be a top 4 seed. But they've been kicked out of the tournament. Now, the selection committee has already come out and said that they are still both will be selected into the tournament. Here's the issue. What happens if someone else tests positive, or multiple people test positive within these programs? What's the selection committee going to do? The selection starts. The brackets revealed on Sunday. First game start on Thursday, and obviously then you have to travel and things into Indianapolis, for the tournament. So what happens come, let's say, Tuesday, and there's another 1 or 2 more COVID tests on one of these programs, bubbles up.
Right.
What does the committee do then? That's the question. What happens then?
Yeah, I feel like, oh God, it's such an interesting situation because it goes so many different ways. What I would like to see happen is, because it would be so completely unfair for if the 2 teams got kicked out because of COVID, or any team did, no matter what round of number they're in, that other team gets a free win to the next round. Especially when you get to the higher ones. Are you telling me like a team that gets a free ride from a Sweet 16 gets to Elite 8, but they get a free ride? That's super unfair. So
now, granted, that kind of seems unlikely because they're all gonna be in Indianapolis exclusively.
it would probably more happen the round of 64, round of 32.
Right, it happen more like the first week, not so much in the second or third week.
True, but I mean, my point being, I suppose, is I would like to see them fill that spot. They need to, whether it's a reseeding, I think what's more likely to happen versus going through like a whole reseeding process, especially once the tournament already started. That seems like it's a hectic kind of crap show to put on themselves. Mm-hmm. As that they take a team that either that was on the bubble of making it in,
right,
and you toss in the team that was the closest to making it in, and you throw them in there depending on which region they're in, what 4 regions they're in. The number 1 team that was in that region that you need to replace. There you go.
Right. I mean, that still kind of messes up your seeding. No, that's because the people on the bubble are the teams that aren't supposed to make the tournament, where like a Virginia is sure locked in as a top 4 seed.
Right.
So like you still have that issue. It's gonna definitely mess things up, and it might also not make it fair to some other teams. I mean, it's so hard. It's hard to say. And here's the other issue that I just thought with that, because I kind of agree with you until I just thought of this. So these teams that you're not going to bring in, they've been, they were out of their own conference tournament early. So they've had a week and a half to 2 weeks of where they were no longer only a team on campus, right? What have these kids gone out and done since then, where they weren't in their own team bubble?
I guess that's also true. Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna be able to possibly? How could you tell the other teams like, hey, it's safe. Don't worry, it's safe. Like you can't guarantee that just because you could give them a test, but they're just gonna be on such quick notice that they come in, you test them, then they may go play a game the next day, and maybe someone just wasn't testing positive yet. Like we've heard all these times that COVID, all the false negatives that have come out.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the COVID implications and health implications themselves of the teams that are out. Technically, if they lose, then their conference tournaments are out of season basketball. They're no longer doing the protocols to the level that it holds them to during season basketball. So that's a huge implication as well. You also got to think, I mean, what if they call some of these teams that are on the bubble or on the fringe of making the tournament in their respective regions, and the team says no. The school, based on their own, whatever choices they want to make and what route they're going, they're like, no, that's going to either cost too much money to bring all the guys back and get the charter bus and the flights and all that crap put together last minute, or they are, super strict on COVID situations beyond what the NCAA requires of the basketball team itself. But maybe as a school, as well. So they're like, no, I don't want to risk that because that puts the school at jeopardy outside of just the basketball team. So what happens if you call around and you have people that don't want to be there? I mean, it's probably slim pickings that happens, but it's a possibility.
Right, yeah. I feel like that's definitely a minority of teams that would say no to going into the tournament. I mean, because the tournament, like, let's be honest about it, it's a business. It's a TV show, right? And so it brings in a ton of money to individual schools just being involved with it. So it'd be surprising if that were to happen, but who knows? It's a very interesting conversation that's gonna have to be had, and we'll know more about it on Sunday, possibly, or probably early next week, only if this isn't an isolated thing between in that program. It's just a one-off kid, and they're able to get through, and no one else tests positive.
Right. Well, even that, if Virginia and Kansas both get off, and it goes smooth sailing from here, you still need to. They had to have some type of contingency plan. Because just because they get off doesn't mean it can't happen still at any of these teams once they get into Indianapolis. There's no guarantee. None of this, especially when all the tests could be false positives, false negatives, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
The amount of scenarios are endless in terms of when you're putting 64 teams, different teams together, and the amount of staff and workers and to play the tournament. Even though they're going to do the bubble in Indianapolis, and that's been great success in all different areas of sports. But I mean, there's got to be something in play for if this happens.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the other part about this, or earlier in the year, I should say, the selection committee did come out, and because they were asked this question, like, what happens if someone tests positive while they're in the bubble for the tournament?
Right.
And they said that, and they did say at that time that team would not be replaced. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation to have going forward, especially into the early parts, like this weekend on Sunday, and then going into the early parts of next week to see if these are isolated incidences or not, basically.
Right. Do you think we actually have an answer on Sunday? I mean, we might if they have isolated incidents. Do you think we have an answer to them if what the plan would be? I think
I feel like that they're gonna have to, right? Yeah. They're gonna have to say like, hey, if this happens, then this is what we're gonna do to in response to it. I don't know if you could possibly have a tournament without like that. It's the biggest question hanging over the tournament. So
right. Yeah, what happens if this all starts going to shit?
Right.
How are we gonna manage? So yeah, hopefully they have a good answer or a answer. I'd imagine they have some type of plan in the background. I think it would help everybody understand what's going to have the tournament better if they announced it. But yeah, I guess we'll find out and we'll talk about it. Like we mentioned earlier, we do have an episode that will be out on Monday. It'll be recorded Sunday night after Selection Sunday. Mm-hmm. More than likely, it will be out Monday morning. It takes some time to upload all these things and whatnot.
Yeah, but basically our episode on Sunday is going to be kind of fun. We're going to be filming us watching the Selection Sunday show where they reveal the bracket, and we'll be able to talk about matchups and seeding in real time as it happens. You'll be able to see kind of those exact thoughts as they happen to us. It'll be a very authentic type of feeling.
It'd be super, super interesting. And then going forward through the tournament, right behind us on this wall you see, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're just listening to us, we have a big wall right behind us where we record here. We're going to have a big poster board of the tournament bracket posted up here. We're going to keep it updated and talk about it consistently through the bracket. And obviously how we're doing or what teams we have winning it and stuff like that. And then outside of that, if you've been listening to us recently, we started a ESPN Bracketology, the app.
The ESPN's Tournament Challenge.
Tournament Challenge, excuse me. Where you can sign up to play the March Madness bracket and kind of test your luck on there. We started our own group, Herbie Sports Talk, correct?
Yes.
Where you can join our group and you could compete against what we do and the brackets we make. So we'll have one consensus bracket between the both of us posted up here behind us, a big, huge one. We also have individual brackets between Tyler and myself on the app too, where you can see us differ, in our other reasonings and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure, it's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, we'll have our consensus up, and as we go through, what you'll be able to see directly on video, what we got right, what we got wrong, because we're going to mark off the things we got wrong. You're going to be probably in big red sharp like that. X, that one's wrong.
Yep.
And so you'll be able to see how that goes. And then the individual one. So we'll have our own kind of tournament between the two of us.
Yeah.
A challenge that way. But we'd love for you guys. So the way it works, you'll make your bracket first, and then after the bracket, it'll ask you if you want to join a group. Click join a group. Type in Herbie Sports Talk. You can join our group. And what we want to do is somehow whoever wins, because it's point based, it's all done through the app. It's super simple. Whoever wins, we want to try to figure out some way of incorporating them into the show on an episode or get a prize. We're gonna find something.
Yeah.
We're gonna figure out something. We're not sure what's gonna be yet. More than likely, I think it'd be kind of cool if someone who wins, if they're local, it'd be kind of cool if we bring them in for a cameo on an episode.
Yeah, it'd be like a first guest on the show. That'd be super cool. We'll see if we can make it happen. It really depends if they're local and the amount of people we have join this and do it against us as well.
If you're listening to us and you're not local, we are not cash flowing at the moment, so we will not be flying you into Spokane from wherever you're at. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, if not though, we'll get you a shout out. We'll find a gift for you. I don't know. We'll figure it out though.
We'll figure something out. But yeah, if you like college basketball, if you like March Madness, or not, you don't have to like basketball. If you just like the betting type of gambling style of like a bracket like March Madness provides, definitely check out the app, the tournament challenge. Join the group. Tell a friend. Tell somebody, your buddies, that you compete against them individually. Still compete against them, but add yourself to a larger audience. Come compete against more people and get maybe make a friend. Who knows?
For sure.
Or we can just argue. That's always fun too about sports.
Yeah, that's what sports is about.
Exactly.
Is argument and winning.
And then winning the argument. So yeah, go check out the app. Come compete against us. Come see what it's all about, and let's have some fun.
Absolutely. Even if you don't like college basketball or not that interested in it, fill the bracket for whatever mascot you like the most, or whatever color scheme you like the most. Just do it. That's the point of it. You can win because you can win that way. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Just Shia LaBeouf and just do it.
All right. I think on that note, we're gonna wrap this one up.
Yeah. Before we get off sports topics so much.
Yeah. Let's not bring up Shia LaBeouf ever again on our freaking podcast. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for listening in this week, or for this episode. We'll talk to you again actually here in just a couple days on Sunday. Yeah. Again, any of the topics we brought up, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up at Herbie Sports Talk on Instagram, on Twitter, TikTok. Comment below on the YouTube. Yeah. And make sure you give us those likes. We're still trying to build a community here. So tell your friends. We'd love to, try to reach out to audience people and or audience members and people that follow us because we'd love to be able to interact with you guys. Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna build a community slowly but surely. But all it takes is word of mouth. If you having a conversation with buddies or whatever it is, and you say something like, oh yeah, I heard some guy say this. Just tell them, hey, that's us. We said that. Yeah, we did that. even if they hate the fact that we said it, that's fine. They come talk to us about it. Let's have a conversation. Absolutely. That's all it takes. So that's all we ask from you guys. But other than that, that is the end of today's episode, and we'll be seeing you on Sunday. Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Peace out.